Hi everyone, welcome to the latest episode of System Link, this time for Wednesday the 6th of June 2025. I am your host, Jonathan Garrett, joined as always by my co-host, Mike Hazelton from the Xbox Guide. Mike, how are we doing?
I'm good. 4th of June, but I'll just let
that. Fuck! I completely...
Getting ahead of yourself.
I was really confident too, I felt like I'd rehearsed it.
You're looking forward to the state of play that much.
I just want to get to the Summer Game Fest, you know what I mean? I just want to know what's going on. I want to know what nuggets Keely's cooking. Hi everyone, welcome to the latest episode of System Link for Wednesday the 4th of June 2025. I am joined as always by my co-host Mike Hazelton from the Xbox Guide. Intro has been redone. I feel better with the world. Mike, we are back doing System Link.
Yeah.
This is such a treat. We have many things to talk about. We've obviously been away for a minute, just logistics have got in the way, but we are back. If you're listening to us, obviously, here live on YouTube and Twitch, thank you so much for joining us. If you are checking us out on our video on demand version, which goes up on both YouTube, Podbean and Spotify, thank you so much for checking out the show. It is really appreciated. Pumpkin is climbing all over my keyboard, having a great time doing it. He loves it. Mr. Garrett's Disciple coming in chat. Good evening, Rocco. Good evening. Good to see you, buddy. Thank you so much for jumping on. So we have... Man, Mike, where do we start?
If ever there's a week for us to get back to this is a good one.
This is the one, right? This is it.
Well, I mean, we're a little bit early, but we're going to be talking about what we're hoping to see later in the week.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, a lot of anticipation. Switch.
Yeah. We're on the cusp.
Maybe we should start with a Switch.
Let's kick off. We're going to go straight in. So, Switch 2, coming out tomorrow. We've had confirmation over the last couple of days of some summer fruits. Good spot. Clocking it. Thanks, buddy. For those of you listening afterwards, that was someone in chat noticing my squash. Bizarre experience if you're listening to this not live. So we have confirmation from Nintendo that they're actually going to be patching a number of first-party games from Switch 1 that are backwards compatible on Switch 2, not as paid upgrades. They're not part of the 10, 15 or 20 quid upgrade packs. This is just going to be some free updates to have these games look a little better, a little sharper. Some of them have HDR support, some of them running better. Super Mario Bros. Wonder, the All-Stars collection also was getting a patch there for free, which is really nice. It's nice to see them supporting that. It seems to be that the games that are having the paid upgrades are the ones with sort of significant additional content. You know, we're getting Kirby and the Forgotten Lands getting a DLC expansion later this year. There's both Zelda games having new content added to them. They're tying in with the mobile app as well. So that seems to be the cadence right now, is that they're doing free updates for A lot of their titles that are kind of just sort of slight bells and whistles, and then any sort of more meaningful updates have a sort of small paid upgrade requirement to them. So nice.
Do you know if there's like cool. If you don't want the extra content for like the Zeldas, you can. Is there a patch that's just improving them, or is the only way to have the better version to buy it?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. Actually, I don't know if those games just play sort of in their native backwards compatible state and they just run better because of the hardware, or the load times are improved. I actually don't know that answer. It would be nice to know if those games.
Mario Kart, has that got a patch? Or are they forcing you
Mario?
into...
Yeah, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has not got a patch, and
what
I
a
think,
shock.
yeah, I think for the same very unsurprising reason as to why Double Dash is not on that GameCube library from day one, because it's all about world, baby. We're going to world. We're going around the world. So I think, yeah, I wouldn't imagine actually we'd see any kind of formal support beyond backwards compatibility for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I don't think we'd see much support for that at all, because they're going to want to push world. And
to be fair, depending on how world does. I mean, I've seen a small amount of negative sentiment from people that have played it, but I think broadly still overwhelmingly positive, but not to the extent that 8 was like set the world on fire. But it'll be interesting to see. But I just, if it didn't quite do the numbers of 8, they obviously can't port the tracks from 8 across, so it's good. It's going to put them in an interesting position where, like, will it make sense for them perhaps to have another version of Mario Kart 8 coming along at some point?
We had the booster course packs, right up to the end of the Switch's life cycle. Like within the last year, we were still getting new tracks for that. So my hope is that that thing is just playable on Switch 2, and it can just be taken as is. Given there's sort of for the first time we're getting sort of proper account migration as well from a Nintendo platform, which is really nice to see. It seems to be that for the first time, the smoothness of that transition, like they've got the native data transfer going on as well for your save games and everything, and for your titles that you've played. So it's more likely and easier for them to make these games compatible than they have been historically. I mean, they had to re-release Mario Kart 8 from the Wii U instead of just doing some kind of upgrade for it because it was a totally different format. And of course, Nintendo find any excuse to do that. No, they didn't. But they'll find any excuse. We used discs on the Wii U. We couldn't. They wouldn't fit in the top. Sorry, doesn't work. So So we've got. I want to give a quick shout out. Actually, something I'm really looking forward to tomorrow is from Shin'en Multimedia. Fast Fusion. Yeah. Mike and I absolutely adored Fast RMX as our Switch launch titles. We were sending each other screenshots of our time trials and sort of shaving off like half a second with each other and back and forthing. I think we revived an old Twitter account just to exchange these and share these with each other,
because that was the only way you could.
You couldn't. There was no way of you couldn't download them. You couldn't WhatsApp them to each other. There was no way to do that. Game with Passion coming in live on our YouTube chat. I ordered my Switch 2 today. It says it'll arrive tomorrow. Fantastic. Getting in there last minute. Fantastic. Brilliant. Not sure what to expect. I love that it's your first Nintendo console. You've got quite a library there to dive into, which would be really exciting.
I'd love to know what made you take the leap on it.
Yeah.
Game with Passion, because I've been because you had some issues with your pre-order, didn't you? And when I was looking for stock off the back of that, it's hard when you see it in stock not to just click that button.
Sure.
Go into debt and buy it.
and dive in.
Not this time.
Well, yeah, and clearly, again with Passion, you've obviously what was the turning point for you? What made you jump in, make this one your first? That'd be really interesting to know. Shout out to Fast Fusion, sequel to Fast RMX, which was also a launch title for Switch 1, and this dev just seems to do the F-Zero experience just so well. It reminds me of Extreme G. Actually, it actually feels closer to Extreme G than F-Zero, and it's using, as often is the case with the launch titles, they tend to sort of try, a lot of the games at launch will try to use all of the things that the console is offering as a new thing. It's supporting game share as well, which I really, really like. It's 4-player split screen co-op. It's got online multiplayer with AI. It looks really, really cool. And has
it got a camera chat thing?
I don't think
is that in all the games, or is that
it's only as you'd expect. as you'd expect from like the transfer pack from like the N64 to Game Boy Advance thing, your first party games are using the wacky peripherals. And Mario Party Jamboree, I don't think that's out for launch. I think that's coming soon. And Mario Kart is using is sort of well integrating that. I think you can actually still, if you're playing Fast RMX, you could still, or Fast Fusion, sorry, you could still do the picture-in-picture view at the bottom. It's just not integrated in-game like you see in Mario Kart, where there's like the live logo camera view following each kart. Really looking forward to that. That's a really cool launch title. And
I was watching that with the frames per second of the chat. Picture in picture.
Oh, you mean the CCTV footage? The 10 frames per second. It looked so bad in the showcase. I don't know if we ever actually had a chance to cover this on System Link. I don't know whether we.
I think we meant. Yeah, I think we had one.
I hope we did, because if we didn't, it bears repeating that like it's dreadful. Like the performance of that is not good.
Yeah. So what for you is it Fast Fusion? What are you most looking forward to about the console?
I think seeing their attempt to experiment a little bit with some of these from their first party. So seeing what they're doing with Donkey Kong at the end of July, Mario Kart World, pushing the scale of it, feeling like it's something that can only be achieved, or that couldn't be achieved on the Switch 1 hardware. They had to push for this. I think them experimenting a little bit. I like weird Nintendo. I always have. I've gravitated to weird Nintendo ever since the GameCube era, and I think that was the hook for me. The backwards compatibility was a big win and something that was very important to me. I have actually got quite a library on Switch, both physical and digital games. So to know that both of those are supported too is really important. And more capable hardware. Stuff that would make ports seem viable. I've seen the 40 frames per second footage of Cyberpunk, that sort of balanced performance mode. I like that they've pushed for that in this, and it supports DLSS, and it's just nice to see them both be a bit weirder and a bit more creative with their first party, and have hardware that isn't a slouch, supporting backwards compatibility. They were sort of the three pillars that I was looking for, and they've ticked those boxes. I treated myself to a Pro Controller as well, because I can't go without my Pro Controller. As much as those Joy-Cons are bigger and magnetic and hopefully don't have stick drift, they're still Joy-Cons. I still would much prefer to be playing with a normal controller. And that Switch 2 Pro Controller, and the Switch 1 is fantastic. So I'm very much looking forward to going hands-on with that. They're kind of the three pillars for me that got
me. Is
it
not compatible with Switch 2?
It is. Yeah, the Switch Pro controllers are compatible. The new one, just I like the aesthetic. I like the.
Okay.
I wanted to feel like you want to. It is that sort of very superficial. You've got a new thing. You want to feel like you've got that fresh tech to go with it. Game with Passion coming in, weighing in with his thoughts on why he's now made the leap to Nintendo, grabbing a Switch 2. Multiple reasons. First, I just like gaming. I own everything PC with RTX 5090. Okay, so you've got a really capable PC. You got a Series X, Quest 3, PS5, and a Steam Deck, except a Switch. So I wanted to complete the gauntlet. Okay, so the bit of a completionist kind of box being ticked there. Second reason, I was worried that it goes up in price over time. Well, a reasonable concern given what we've seen from both PlayStation and Xbox this gen. The tax situation, obviously, with the tariffs in the States, might push Nintendo to increase the price all over the world to mitigate the US taxes. That's a good point.
It is an interesting one, because you kind of assume that the Switch 2 is only aimed at people that have got a Switch 1 with the backwards compatibility thing. But obviously, if you haven't had a Switch 1, it's a great time to kind of get into the ecosystem, because all the Switch 1 games will hopefully be relatively reasonably priced, and you can play them all on Switch 2. So yeah, I would be interested to know if there are a lot of people doing that, because with it being more capable, I think some of the things that would have put people off Switch 1 will be mitigated with this. So
yeah, and it's also it's objectively a much stronger launch, especially if you didn't go with Switch 1 and haven't played a lot of these third-party games, because you got Mario Kart World as obviously the centerpiece. Stuff like Fast Fusion, the two Zelda games, both of them are getting Switch native ports with new features, both are for day one. And then there's decent third-party support. Cyberpunk, Street Fighter, Hogwarts Legacy, all these games are sitting there waiting day one, and they've been... No Man's Sky has also been patched as well, so there's some big third-party games that have ongoing communities that are engaged with them, that if you are looking for something on a Switch portable that has, is more capable hardware. It's a good time to dive in. It's a much, on balance, I think a much stronger launch for them than Switch 1 was, because they literally had Breath of the Wild and Just Dance. That was...
Yeah, we struggled with the Switch because we wanted to play together, which is why we were doing the fast RMX stuff. I think I had fast RMX. Was that slightly after launch, like a week or something after?
It was, yeah, because I think Snipper Clips was day one. We had
I
Snipper
was playing Snipper Clips. It's like,
what else we got? We're not getting Just Dance, Zelda single player. We're playing Snipper Clips.
Snipper Clips was great, but it's like it could have been playable on a GameCube.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The main downside I saw with Switch is that game prices don't go down. Yeah, welcome to the Nintendo experience. Going physical pre-owned is a great way around that. That's something I did a lot with my Switch games, and I got a lot more physical games on Switch than I expected. I'd like to say that I'm going to go more digital, given that I've got a digital PS5 Pro, and I'm definitely on Xbox, almost 95% digital now. But just the pricing, the eShop pricing, so terrible that I again probably will maintain my physical media purchases with Switch 2. I can't see myself, unless it just becomes a convenience thing and I get lazy. I think I will just continue to have physical games supported on there. All confirmed after my pre-order debacle with Game. Fuck you, Game. Never going with you again. I'll put that out there on the internet. Absolute nightmare.
I'll share that with us. What happened?
Yeah,
but we need a bit of game bashing.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll cliff notes it for you. Pre-ordered back in April. It was about 4 or 5 days after the pre-orders sort of opened up. Generally, I didn't get an invite to the Nintendo one or the Amazon one. They were the invite-only ones. So when games went up, I managed to get it on that night. It went up at about 9 o'clock on Games' website. Pre-ordered it. They did an authorization hold on my card, which checked to make sure that it could be charged and that the money was in there. Both correct and all fine. They took the money for 10 days and then refunded it. On a quick segue on that, I wish they'd just taken it. I think I'd much rather have just paid for it in the moment. But anyway, refunded, fine. Authorization hold, fine. Fast forward to the week before, last week, and they said that my card couldn't be charged. And I got an email about it saying, can you update your payment method? You go on the Game website, there's no option to update your payment method, and they cancelled my order. They completely cancelled my Switch 2 pre-order. It took me over 3 hours to get connected to their live chat because the queue for the live chat would time out after 15 minutes, and the wait time for people to speak to you was 17 minutes. So you would get in there and
how's that even possible?
It's just nonsense, and they just would disconnect you. After about literally just over 3 hours, I finally spoke to someone, and all they said was, "Your order's cancelled. Your order's cancelled." And in a fury, because I was so disappointed. I have so few things that are my vices, but gaming is a big vice for me. It's my thing. It's my passion. My gaming with passion. And I I stumbled onto Curry's UK. There are Curry's PC World is another retailer here in the UK, and they were selling bundles with like the Mario Kart World bundle, but with like other stuff. So there was a copy of Street Fighter, the camera, and an SD card in a bundle. It was the only one they had in stock. Every other major retailer in the UK across, like Shop2, Amazon, the Nintendo Store, AO.com, Smiths, all of Argos, all sold out. And this one Curry's bundle was like my last hope to get one for launch. So I picked it up. They took the money at the point of order. I got 2 email confirmations saying it's been, payments received and order's been locked. It's processing. I got my delivery information today. It's arriving tomorrow. Nice. They were just really explicit and upfront. And I'll have my Switch 2 for launch. My accessories were with Game, but they charged that at the point of order. So those accessories, that the Pro Controller and my SD card, they're still coming from Game, and they were charged at the time without having to wait with some wacky authorization.
You should have cancelled those. Fuck them.
Tempting, but the problem was that the Pro Controller wasn't available to pre-order anywhere else I could find, and I really did want that for launch. And I would have obviously then just cancelled the SD card too, because I got that in the bundle. Just a nightmare. And I then 24 hours later, they did offer me a code to pre-order the Switch 2 again with free delivery. That was the offer, and that was where I went, no, fuck you, I'm not doing that. So,
did you have to pay for Curry's delivery?
No, it was free.
Yeah, it's just like for context for anyone in the US, Game used to be like the specialist video games retailer over here. There are a couple of others, but they've been around. They got bought out by basically a company that mainly owns a sports retailer, and now the only place to go to game shops is inside this sports retailer, which is a really weird experience. And they're not focused on gaming at all. So dealing with their customer service is terrible. Their website is now terrible. Like they make you pay for delivery on everything, no matter how much you spend, and I think they might even make you pay to collect stuff in store. It's just terrible. So yeah, it's not surprising.
Yeah,
they've
cancelled. They don't take pre-owned games anymore. They don't have a reward scheme anymore, either to reward loyalty. They don't even have a head office. Game head office doesn't exist, and it's been folded into Sports Direct, which is the retailer here in the UK. It's absolutely dreadful. Jess, good evening. Good to see you. Yeah, it was just awful. A really miserable experience, and the fact that their chat wasn't able to give me any sort of solution, and then the emails were contradicting what their website was then able to allow you to do, just terrible.
Yeah. I mean, at least that there is a bit of stock about. I know like you had to go searching for that, but I think probably you could find stock somewhere in some sort of bundle still if you really wanted to, compared to, you know, what we saw with the first Switch or, you know, people scalping. Normally, your only option is to pay over the odds to get something if you've missed the initial wave. So I'm sure they've done a better job with stock than they did with Switch 1. It sounds like they were ramping up for a long time, but yeah, hopefully it's not quite as desperate as it was for Switch 1 around launch.
Well, we shall see. We'll be doing some coverage on it, doing a couple of little cheeky reviews over the next few days. It's on the cusp. Looking forward to it. Getting ready. Oh, I think I'm going to sneeze. Live on stream.
Don't worry about muting yourself.
There was no time.
You had the time to say, I think I'm going to sneeze.
Yeah, and that surprised me. There was no time to then be like finding mute buttons. That was it. I had to commit. Folks, take your headphones off. So, let's talk about Xbox. We're not going to go deep dive just yet, because we do have to mention the fact that right now, Xbox have had... I'm going to sneeze again. I have no time. No! It's now sitting there. This is a disaster. Hay fever is attacking me. Everything's fine. For audio listeners, I can only apologise. We've had an interesting couple weeks. We haven't been able to talk about this. We've had Xbox say that Xbox haven't formally announced this, but the reports are that the Xbox handheld that we know has been in development has been, I think cancelled maybe is actually incorrect. It's not as dramatic. It's been sort of deprioritized, as like it's been sidelined a little bit.
Or like paused.
Yeah.
I guess. Which could mean the same. I mean, I don't know if they ever officially announced the handheld. It was just Phil being extremely suggestive and not denying it when questioned about. I don't know if they ever actually said. But like I think there's a lot of good reasons for certainly delaying it by, like, I think we were maybe expecting it next year.
Yeah.
But like a year beyond that or 2 years beyond that, or I think from my perspective, it makes sense to just sync it with the next generation for Xbox. Even if they go just with a home console and then the handheld comes out like a year or two later, I think that's also essentially fine. I think what we've said before and what wouldn't be fine is if they do a multi-SKU home console again and then have a handheld and then you've got three versions. I think will be not ideal.
No, that'll be nonsense. I could see, actually, I wondered if part of it too is that they're actually using the partnerships they've made with people like Asus and that the device that apparently is cooking with them as a sort of test bed. They're not going to sort of forge ahead too fast with their own platform until, like you said, until next gen is ready. My ideal dream scenario for that is an Xbox PC branded hybrid that has Steam integration as one SKU as a console with that, you know, with PC capabilities and functionality in the flexibility and ease of a home console, and then you have a handheld to go with. That would be best case scenario for me, and a really smart way for them to be disruptive. And speaking of disruptive, Forza Horizon 5 is currently the top selling game on the PlayStation Store. 5 of the top 10 games on the PlayStation Store right now are Xbox-owned franchises. Now, admittedly, Call of Duty, Doom, they're multi-platform already, but it is interesting to see Forza at the top of that list. It's a very strange time to be in.
And the handheld is a risk. Like I think they could estimate quite reliably how, like, what the minimum base that they would get on the next Xbox home console, standard console would be, assuming they don't do anything really weird with it. If it's like a better Series X console, that would be like the lowest possible standard, and I think they'll be able to get good numbers on that, and they'll be able to know if they can make that profitable or not. The handheld is a complete curveball. They could lose a lot of money making a handheld that no one buys, even if it's made by Asus or someone, but like branded up properly Xbox.
Yeah, it is a timing thing as well, isn't it? Because you've got Steam Deck now in this conversation as well as Switch. That they are wading into a much more competitive market that is already now pretty saturated. We came off the back of the PS Vita and the DS, and that was essentially handheld gaming supposedly being sort of phased out. And then Switch comes along, and Steam Deck comes along, and then you've got all these third-party devices, then streaming with the backbone and the connector points for iPhones and things like that. Is a lot of competition now in that space. So it's whether it's actually smarter for them at this stage to just be partnering and then look at that as a companion piece to their singular SKU next gen.
Well, what benefit is there to having an Xbox made handheld? Like, it seems as though we're getting to a point where there really aren't any benefits to it, and they would have to do a lot of development work to make the software good enough to be better than what exists currently. And people aren't that invested in the Xbox brand now for various reasons, all self-inflicted. So I think it would be, at the moment, I feel like it would be quite a niche device compared to some of the other handhelds that are out there.
And also, if we are seeing this sort of increased synergy between Xbox and PC, and actually some kind of deal happens with Steam, then Pumpkin's pressing spacebar on my computer. That they at this point, it essentially, if a Steam Deck is what an Xbox handheld would be, that already exists. So it's
you just need Game Pass to be available. Ideally, so the thing would be, if it's a native handheld, then you get your Xbox purchase library available on there, and you'd have Game Pass. But I feel like, because Game Pass won't be unique to the Xbox handheld, so it's only the native element, and I don't know if that's worth what the development costs going to be to get it to that point. But we'll see. I think if a good enough partnership comes out, I think we've obviously got this existing partnership. I think there'll be more to come, and I think one of them, they're perhaps hoping that one of them just lands and that people adopt that as the Xbox handheld.
That's the handheld,
and then they don't need to make their own one, kind of.
Because they have effectively then achieved that goal, haven't they, at that point?
Yeah.
Interesting game with passion, noting that Steam is generally considered to be way ahead in terms of its UX and sort of accessibility. And that's fair. I think that there is a certain ease with which you can access that. I find PC gaming quite frustrating at times because of the amount of configuration needed to get stuff running. So if you can blend those experiences, have that sort of just plug and play experience, but with the accessibility and the library and my Steam account linked in with my Xbox PC account, well, lovely jubbly, that's best of both worlds. I think that's what people want. I think people want that experience plugged in the living room. I think that would be a really... And also, what a fantastic way to open up sales and player bases and stuff for stuff like, you got the PlayStation games on PC. You could conceivably then play Helldivers 2 on the next generation Xbox if it has Steam integration. So...
Yeah, but for me, the real opportunity for Xbox is with the next console, if they manage to have Steam and... or it's basically a PC box that has a UI that console gamers are used to, and you basically can't. Well, you can obviously fuck with it if you want to do that, but they lock it quite relatively well down so that casual gamers would never get into the kind of weeds of the settings and stuff. So it just works, I think.
I think that's it, isn't it? That's the convenience of a handheld. That's the potential of what a console experience could offer integrated with Steam is just that ubiquitous kind of like it just works, and that's really really key, I think, for that to be meaningful.
Do you feel as though there's a danger that because the software sales are going so well, they kind of, I mean, it would be very hard to imagine that they don't have the next Xbox console, but do you feel like maybe they're just focusing on this software strategy and seeing what happens? Is the delay to the handheld, is that kind of synonymous with a delay to the next Xbox main console as well? We'll like wait and see how.
Yeah,
If they're making shitloads of money selling stuff on PlayStation, is there a danger that might just be the way they go?
What, and this potentially could be an indication of them shifting away from hardware. I don't think we can discount any possibility at this stage, because I don't think we'd be here. I don't think we'd be talking about Gears of War coming out on PlayStation this year.
Oh,
you know.
So we're talking about there might be a third-party handheld that has Game Pass and Steam on it, and that Xbox think this is good enough. We don't need to make our own one. If someone makes a third-party box that you can plug into your TV that has Steam and Game Pass on it, is that's so the problem is that Microsoft wouldn't be getting the whatever 70% or whatever it is on all the other game sales. But then if your install base is low enough, you're not really. I don't know. I think there's a chance that they might feel they're better off just being a publisher.
I think if anything, this is them data gathering. I think it's them looking at this and going, well, this is an opportunity to experiment. I actually think also they're viewing their console as more of a marketing tool in a way. More of a you have got 30 million plus people that are invested in that ecosystem. That is not insignificant numbers. So you still want to, you suddenly don't release an Xbox. I can't imagine those people that are willing to invest in a Series X would all necessarily migrate to a Steam third party, some kind of equivalent box, because we've seen declines in the console space already with native hardware. So I think they would. I think they'd be shooting themselves in the foot a little bit. I think if they were to cut off.
Well, but the point is, like, if you branded it in the right way, that it's got Xbox in the name.
Is it effectively an Xbox? You know what I mean? Like in that idea, certainly in terms of the casual audience, would just look at that and go, "Oh, that's the next Xbox." But it's really just.
Well, and obviously there's still tens of millions of people on Xbox One that haven't moved over.
Yeah.
So the Series X isn't attractive enough for them, or it's too expensive for them. More likely, probably. So there's more people in the ecosystem, but they're struggling to get them over. And I think the way to get them over is to have a PC.
Yeah.
That isn't intimidating. That's a bit cheaper because it's using, off the shelf components and doesn't quite have the bespoke nature of consoles.
Plus, they handled cross-gen ultimately quite well by offering streaming on the previous gen. So, like, a lot of the games like Flight Sim, I remember being Series X only, was then cloud compatible on the Xbox One. That's a great way of mitigating that issue, where you can then still connect with that player base that's on your previous gen that aren't willing or ready to upgrade, but you can still have them involved and still have them playing your games, buying DLC, etc. It feels like a very experimental, data-driven time for them. They've seen obvious success. We've seen it with Indie, we've seen it with Sea of Thieves, we've seen it with most recently with Forza Horizon 5. The strategy's validated because it's about revenue, not about the consumer. It's not actually about Xbox fans. These PS5 releases aren't even really about PlayStation players either. It's about revenue. It's about maximizing the fact they've got. They're giving away so much in terms of Game Pass that this is a way for them to have their cake and eat it too.
I think the issue will be when PlayStation go with their next console. Xbox will have to do it because otherwise, those people in the Xbox ecosystem will want that they won't want Xbox games running that much better on PlayStation.
No, exactly.
So if Microsoft don't have a box that can play them at a relatively even standard, they'll
just migrate.
It'll be terrible for the brand, and it's in a relatively bad place as it is.
Well, it's odd.
I guess that would be
it's odd that the best version of Forza Horizon 5 from a technical perspective is on PS5 Pro. and it's PS5 Pro.
Yes, but I mean, it released an awful lot later, didn't it? So,
it did, yeah, no, and of course.
like, you'd expect a game that's come out for 5 years later to be the best version of it. But it is a weird one, and we'll see more examples of that. You know, Indiana Jones, presumably the best version of that's on PS5 Pro.
Yeah, and actually, Game with Passion did mention, and it's a good point, is the legal side of it, that there is a tricky aspect to that with like certain games that are released on Steam suddenly being accessible through a different ecosystem and how they make that work seamlessly. You know, you'd want to be able to, like, in an ideal world, I'd be able to see my Game Pass library, my Xbox purchased library, and my Steam library just displayed in one UI. That would be fantastic. I kind of want Xbox to become like the Roku of gaming. I think I want them to be able to support all of these various like, I'd love it if the Epic Store was on there as well, because they do some really good giveaways, they have good sales. Just being able to access all of that through a singular device, I think people would spend more money in those ecosystems because they would become easier to access, and it would also become simpler to actually play the games themselves because you'd be using the console architecture. You'd be able to just install and play the game.
And it would be cheaper because you'll have the choice to buy something on Steam, or you could buy it on the Xbox Store, or probably they'll have to put other marketplaces on there as well, and they'll all be competing for people's money. So.
And it would potentially create other opportunities for like sales. You know, like this version on the Xbox Store of this particular title is actually discounted only here, so it drives people. It will create a much more dynamic, more a competitive marketplace, and that's only a good thing. Competition only leads to interesting innovation, and I hope we see them take those risks and really push for that. Jess Hardy knows there's a PlayStation State of Play in 15 minutes. Yeah, there is. There's one kicking off at 10 o'clock.
Wrap this up.
Bizarrely, yeah, I know. Let's get going. Nate State Games, good evening. Good, thanks you so much for jumping in. Well, let's talk about PlayStation in 2025. That's definitely on our agenda for tonight as well. I hope we see something from Ghost of Yotai in this State of Play this evening. I think it's their most exciting first-party game this year. We don't really know a great deal beyond that. We don't know what Ben's working on. We know Naughty Dog are working on Intergalactic, but I wouldn't expect to see that until late 2026 at the earliest. Gameplay, maybe. You know, we might get a little sneak peek of gameplay, but certainly not being released this year.
What else is Fair Games? Is that this year?
Fair Games I think was given a 25 release window, but could slip. I think there's a good chance that it could go to 26, I think. You've got Wolverine coming from Insomniac, and rumoured to be a third Spider-Man game. Would not be surprised by that at all. The first two sold incredibly well. I mean,
I know people have been... I don't think we can expect too much from this State of Play. Slightly weird to me it was announced like a day before.
Very quick.
Not entirely sure the logic of that, but it's quite exciting. People have been really negative and saying none of the studios are working on, or they're all really early in development because of the live service, a pivot away from live service. And I would be really surprised if that's the case. I think there will be stuff that's quite far along in development, and that in the next year or two, the roadmap will be a lot better.
Yes.
They can't keep going like this. It would be, I don't think anyone at PlayStation will be thinking this is sustainable. They're not going to be happy to see Microsoft with whatever you said in the top 10. So many games in the top 10 on their own storefront. As good as it is from like a PR point of view, it's also bad because they want their games to be,
of course,
top. So I think we'll see some more.
You will certainly see that shape
up. If not today, then hopefully at least next year they'll be in a better place.
And we've got some events coming up, you know, between Jeff Summer Game Fest, you've got games coming up in August, and always the Game Awards tends to have something PlayStation at it. PlayStation and Xbox tend to show up quite heavily there, which is really cool. Yeah. Game with Passion mentioning, I'm still having trouble imagining how Microsoft is going to benefit from any kind of Steam deal, because since Steam is always cheaper. The part of that deal you can imagine what the shape of that looks like in terms of revenue share, and you know, if suddenly that you're creating a whole new place for people to access Steam, you know, there's value to that. Steam will have to sort of play their part in that deal. I don't think it's going to be entirely one-sided. Yes, it might cannibalize some sales on the Xbox side, but then Microsoft are then taking their cut of any sales that come through there. So that, you know, you don't quite know what that deal's going to shape up to be, but I don't imagine it's going to be out of the goodness of their heart. They're going to look at it as a really consumer-friendly move that also is going to be a revenue generator for them.
Yeah.
I think that's how they get around that.
Yeah, there'll be some percentage, presumably. But it should be a win for both sides because it's good for Microsoft because you'll get non-Xbox gamers buying the box because
Yeah.
it's got Steam on it. Um, but it's all hypothetical. May never happen. So, um, yeah, the worst case scenario. I don't know if it's worst case scenario, but it wouldn't be great if we had basically a PC box with only the Xbox Store on it. I think that'd be quite
Yeah, that would be odd.
poor.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll wait and see.
We certainly will. We have had also this week a really interesting showpiece of Unreal Engine 5. The Witcher 4's tech demo looked absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
Really exciting. Obviously, we don't know at this stage just quite how much of a game that is and whether it very much was sort of a vertical slice. But it certainly proved the scalability of that engine. You know, they confirmed 60 frames for Witcher 4, which is really cool. I think if it's displaying at that fidelity with that kind of performance, that shows that they've really been iterating on that engine, and we're starting to see those Unreal Engine 5 games now really land and really leverage their hardware, because you know, for a little while now we've had a few sort of slightly wonky visual efforts from Unreal Engine 5, like Immortals of Avium was heavily downscaled on console. We've seen a few examples of that of sort of not looking and running particularly well. So it's it's exciting. Starting to see what that game's going to be.
I think there's been a lot of criticism about it for open world games, and I still don't know if we've had a real showpiece open world game that's been built in it yet. But obviously they feel they can do it, and I guess if anyone can, it will be them. I don't know how I feel about such a marquee title being shown, even if it's just a tech demo and not actual gameplay, but like being effectively announced in that way is a bit odd. Imagine the first time we saw the new GTA was they were like, this is a tech demo. It's not even what you see in the game. It's like,
couldn't it?
Just a bit weird.
Yeah.
And ultimately, when they show it for the first time, it needs to look like that. Or they had the problem with Cyberpunk where it was unrealistic what they showed, and it's almost as if they're starting off on that foot again instantly, which is a bit of a concern. But as much as they've said it's a tech demo and not representative, but
yeah, tricky to know quite how that will land given the history of the PR blunder that Cyberpunk was when it first dropped for last gen.
I think I'd rather have seen Cyberpunk in this engine to show. The problem is Cyberpunk looks so good already, but I don't know. For me, it's taken a bit of a shine off when they eventually announce Witcher 4 properly.
It does invite comparison too, which might not always be favourable in this case, given the quality of that tech demo. So we will see. So let's get to our deep dive. This is our bets and dreams for this weekend's Xbox Games Showcase, followed by the Outer Worlds 2. We're getting a deep dive on that straight after that.
Well, and everything. We'll talk about everything, won't we? Summer Game Fest in general.
Indeed.
If there's anything we want to see.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, and actually just on the PlayStation thing, I hope we see one other first party re-emerge with a new title over the next... It doesn't have to be necessarily at today's State of Play. They might sort of save it for Jeff's show. But I'd like to see that for sure.
A part of this discussion, do you think that we'll get a Xbox game announced for PlayStation?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. I don't know if it will be at the State of Play. But I think...
No, I don't think so. I think it will be at Jeff's.
I think it'll be at Jeff's.
He loves it, doesn't he?
He loves it. He had the Indiana Jones scoop. So yeah, I do. I think we get that in Jeff's showcase for sure. But our deep dive, and obviously we will mention things from Summer Game Fest, but it's tricky with that because it's a multi-platform showcase, right? I know that we hope Arc Raiders makes an appearance.
That's what I was gonna like. Arc Raiders.
Yeah.
Is almost what I most want to see from that entire week, just because we played the beta or the technical test, and loved it so much. And there's a chance it
could get a shadow.
I would also like to have some sort of access to the Battlefield thing. There's been a lot of controversy around the class system being not what people want it to be for the new Battlefield game. But I think there's a chance they open up the playtesting of that, which I would really like to get hands on with. So for me, from third party, it's more about what I can actually play imminently. There aren't really any announcements for games coming out later in the year or next year or stuff that I
or like you're
about.
getting confirmation of some early access releases, or like that kind of stuff where you're getting dates, or whether it's Shadow Drop or not, you're just getting clear knowledge of access. You're getting these games in people's hands early. I think Arc Raiders was pretty ready. Like that could have dropped there as it was. Whether that's also a symptom of me just loving it so much that I just want it in my hands. But yeah, I think I'm with you on that for sure. I think yeah, it's more likely we get any kind of Xbox port for PlayStation and maybe Switch 2. I think now that Switch 2 is out in the wild, I think it's going to be easier for them to talk about it.
Yeah, it's interesting that we haven't, because it was suggested there'd be Switch 2 stuff, and we haven't really seen anything. I mean, Forza seems like a logical one, and would do really well. I still, which is probably just the Xbox fan in me, don't think we'll see Master Chief on PlayStation yet. I think it will be Starfield. I think Microsoft will probably announce the next Starfield DLC at their showcase. Because where the hell is that DLC? It's got to be coming.
So I'm gonna.
Well, you think Jeff's gonna announce it?
Here we go.
Say it's coming to PlayStation.
I'm gonna do a bet. So actually, it's not that. It's not Jeff. It's not Jeff.
I would love to see that just for.
So would I. Just for the Halo theme and Jeff going. I've got one more thing, and the one more thing cannot be an Xbox port of Halo to PlayStation. That is not okay. You can't be doing that. But here's what I'm gonna say. I don't think we get any news about. I'm gonna lock in this bet. I don't think we get, and I've been pretty good. I don't think we're going to get any news about Halo appearing on non-Xbox platforms. So I'm including Switch in that, and I'm including PlayStation in that, until after Gears of War Reloaded has come out in August. So I don't think they step on the toes of that. I don't think we get any addition. I think we are going to get an Xbox port announced for PlayStation and or Switch during the next few days. I will commit to that, and that's a fairly low stakes bet, so I'm not going to put a wager on that one. But because I could expect like a South of Midnight getting a release date, or something like that. I could see that coming. Maybe like 3 months from now, so it's like after Gears, so it's then had a 6-month window. I could see that for sure. But I'm gonna say that we don't get Halo port news until after Gears of War Reloaded.
That's pretty safe. I think that's safe.
But it's not going to be mentioned.
So I think
we're not getting any Halo news in this next 3 days.
I'm going to Gamer of Passions made me more confident. I think Jeff will announce the Starfield DLC, and it will be coming to PlayStation with the full thing, and that'll be the announcement. That'll be it.
Yeah, and
it will send Xbox fans really crazy, understandably. I could just see it. It seems plausible, but I thought it would happen last year. I thought with Shattered Space, I thought they were just going to
the second one,
bring out on PlayStation at the time.
They'll do the PS5 port.
I think so. It would be like Game of the Year edition, despite never getting Game of the Year, that kind of thing.
Love that arbitrary title that all these developers just go, "We're Game of the Year," and it's like there was like 18 of these. How is this possible?
Yeah, but so I want to see proper Fable gameplay, like an on-screen 10 minutes of Fable or something.
Uncut.
I'll be quite disappointed if we don't see. I don't want another cutscene as good as they've been with like the British voice actors and stuff. I just want to see.
Show
Fable.
Show me the HUD. Show me the HUD. Show me.
Oh, I just want to see someone moving through the world and stuff. And State of Decay, I really also want to see proper gameplay now. It's dragging on. So I'll be a bit disappointed if we don't see. I mean, we've surely got to see proper Fable. But yeah, State of Decay, I'm eager to see. Now they've said that the co-op is going to be proper co-op and not kind of the weird.
So here's
less than ideal.
Here's what we do. Here's what we do because I want to make sure we're cooking on this. I agree. By the way, I think those. State of Decay, I'm very concerned about. Like, we need to see it. I think they've been.
I'm not sure Phil's even been playing it, has he?
No.
Normally he's this is a thing.
Here's what we're gonna do. If I lose the Halo bet, I have to write a paragraph of Halo fan fiction. and I have to share that on our Discord. So that
GPT to do it.
no, I have to write it myself. There's no AI cheats. I have to do it myself. Has to be a Garrett original. And Everwild is dead. Everwild doesn't exist.
It's not dead.
It's dead.
Not dead. So
we already have this. We already have this bet.
I know.
Yeah.
I think we'll see Everwild.
No. We're not going to see Everwild over the next 3 days. It's not.
Rare have got to have something at this show that isn't the Sea of Thieves season.
Sea of Thieves is going to be... we're adding Conquer DLC to Sea of Thieves to go with the banjo mast that they made. It's going to be really superficial. We're not seeing Everwild at this showcase. It's dead.
Well, that's good.
Dead.
Okay.
Now,
I
want to, for the sanctity of the bet, I want to make sure that I've also clarified my position on this. Sanctity of the bet. It's important. We've got to protect it. Everwild being significantly rebooted, as in it looks different, it's not the same kind of experience, that is not Everwild dead. If it's still called Everwild by Rare...
no, absolutely. I think we were expecting it to not be the same game that was shown.
Right. I think
even
that's reasonable.
Perhaps not called Everwild anymore. To be fair, I wouldn't, as long as it's the same project, they've renamed it, rebooted it. It's fine for me. I don't. There should be elements of it that you can see were Everwild, like it's maybe got a nature theme or it's set in the same sort of world with the same graphical style. But it could have a different name.
Sure, but pulling the plug on it, which I think is not going to come out. It's.
They're not going to announce that, are they?
No, they are.
When does this bet get?
When
locked?
The press release when
they say we've cancelled Everwild, it's just not happening.
It's Milo and Kate. It's vaporware. It doesn't exist. And you know what? I don't know if Beyond Good and Evil 2 is going to come out, and you know how much that stings me. You know how much that stings me to my core. I don't know if that game is going to be seen. Ubisoft cancelled they're not doing a direct over the next few days, which is unusual for them. They're pretty consistent every year, both from the E3 era and them doing their Ubisoft Forwards. They've been annual every year.
Yeah, is it no new Just Dance game, I guess? Just Dance has been the only thing holding it together for the last 3 of those, I think. So.
Game with Passion doesn't agree with me. He thinks it's going to show up. It is not showing up over the next 3 days. We're not seeing it. It's dead game. It's gone.
You're going to be eating your words. You're going to love it as well.
I would love to see some release windows for stuff now, because I actually don't know how much else we know that's coming. We've got Gears Reloaded. We assume a Call of Duty and Ninja Gaiden.
Gears Reloaded isn't a thing on Xbox, though, is it? Because it's already exists.
It is going to be its own.
I know it
release.
is, but that game exists already, doesn't it?
Yes, yeah. There is a Gears of War Ultimate Edition, but not obviously in its repackaged format. Obviously upgraded like they're doing now. But that's it. And Fable has a window. Fable has 2026 loosely. I think, for us to start mapping out, you know what I'd really love to see? This would be a little dream of mine. I'd love to see Contraband. I'd love Contraband to come back and make an appearance.
Yeah, Contraband's been on my list, yeah.
Just show us what you got. And actually, I think when that game is shown, it will actually be a fairly short turnaround to it being released. That would be a fairly sort of reasonable bet.
I think it'll be really good as well. I've got high hopes for that one.
Avalanche. Good studio. They pump them out. So yeah, I think that's good. I think I'd like for it to be a really great showcase. I want windows. I want some Clubriel update his graphics roadmap for me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't so much care when stuff's come, because stuff gets delayed. Like Fable, we had a window for Fable, it got delayed, so it's somewhat meaningless. I want to see proper gameplay of a game so that you can say that looks ready.
Oh yeah,
but not like Perfect Dark, where it's like manufactured to look like it's ready. I like, from what we saw of Perfect Dark, it could still be like 3 years away or something.
Yeah, that was very much a vertical slice, wasn't it? Like, that was not indicative, I think, of what the final thing will be. When I talk about the release windows, though, I want that tied to gameplay, absolutely. But I just think it's nice to have, even if they do get delayed, as we saw with Fable, you mentioned it, I like having flags planted, even if those flags get moved. I just like having a sort of the broad strokes of knowing that it communicates a strategy. and we haven't seen them have consistent messaging. We know it's been a huge problem for Xbox innumerable times over the course of this generation, where they've just made poorly timed announcements, silly decisions, with studio closures and all the kind of timing of announcements. I want to see them plant some flags, even if those flags get moved. So, and there's a number of things: Perfect Dark, State of Decay, Gears EA Day, Contraband.
Everwild.
It's a dead game, but we don't have windows for those titles. Tie them to gameplay. Get us excited. Even if you say to us, Gears EA Day 26, but here's an 8-minute gameplay demo. Amazing. That's exactly what I want. I don't really need a huge amount of new announcements for this to be a successful showcase for me.
No, I don't think we do.
Yeah.
Either. I think it would be if there's stuff that they've managed to keep a secret that is quite close. Those would be the announcements that we get rather than stuff with no release window. I wouldn't be announcing stuff that's like from 2027 onwards.
No,
what's the point?
No. They've made that mistake, right?
There's that Kojima game, isn't there? The weird thing.
Yeah, OD, isn't it?
Yeah, that might show up. But Kojima likes a show. He doesn't like rather than a pre-recorded thing. I feel like he'd rather be there with Jeff.
He'd go Jeff, and they're buddies. Him and Conan O'Brien, they're all pals together. Game with Passion mentioning I want Splinter Cell. Yeah, Ubisoft teased that, didn't they? They put up a picture of the original Sam Fisher character model. So I think it's pretty good chance we'll get that. And what I forgot to mention, actually, something really cool. We're getting First Light. The James Bond game has been from IO Interactive.
Yeah,
I
meant to put that on my list.
Yeah, that's been announced. I can't wait. I love Hitman. I love that developer. So I'm really looking forward to an original, a non-movie tie-in James Bond game is a really exciting prospect. So I think, and from that team too, I just think that's exciting. We're going to get that this week in an IO Interactive showcase.
Yeah, game with State of Play started, so probably
time to wrap it.
start wrapping up. But I had a couple of things. Game with Passion mentioned The Outer Worlds 2, which is obviously the kind of in-depth thing afterwards, which will be interesting to see. I wanted to ask you if you think Obsidian will show something else, because they've been so prolific and have kind of they're smaller thing. Obviously, we wouldn't expect probably another big RPG announcement, but whether they're I think this might have been a dream from me last year, but it's similar to I finally got the Oblivion remake. If we had either an Obsidian-made game based on Elder Scrolls or Fallout, or less based on that, like the Oblivion remake has went down quite well, but I would rather have a new game like from Obsidian in either the Elder Scrolls or Fallout universe would be incredible.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to say is if it's like a remake of New Vegas to tie in with the TV show,
I think
would
that's
be
more likely.
A very good idea.
Yeah, I think we're more
I agree.
likely.
Yeah, but it's a dream. So
yeah, of course. I think it's more likely we get a remake of some kind because we've just had Avowed. They're obviously pushing ahead with Outer Worlds 2. I think that would just be a capacity issue for them. That was the other one I mentioned. I'd love to see Clockwork Revolution. I'd love to see an Exile give that. And again, I think that could be further along than we think. Some of these games actually, I think Clockwork is more likely to come out before State of Decay 3 or Perfect Dark. I think that looks more ready. Even in that early announcement trailer, looked more polished than those titles at the time. So there you go. Though, there's a whole swath of games there that just give me a bunch of updates. Give us the release window so we can start mapping that out. But I forgot about Outer Worlds 2. It's Outer Worlds 2, Call of Duty, Gears Reloaded, and Ninja Gaiden, and what we've kind of got currently outlined major sort of titles for the rest of this year. I think one more first party title within that would be a barnstorming year for Xbox, I think, given what we've had so far this year.
Forza Horizon.
Yes, funny, I don't know if we see a Forza Horizon, given that they should be all steam ahead on Fable, unless they're two teams now, unless they're big enough to be multi-team.
I don't think Microsoft will have signed off on Fable if it meant that there was going to be no new Forza Horizon game for the development time of Fable. And I think that given we've had so many Forza Horizon games and they've got the engine, and it takes more people to make Fable than it takes to make Forza Horizon. I think, especially if they've been just a team like chugging along, making the next Forza Horizon game with a reduced size compared to what it's taken to do Fable. I don't know if we get it just because it's only just come out on PlayStation. I think it maybe sends a slightly bad message to then instantly announce the next Forza game,
which would like to have
there's
an
like
exclusivity
benefits
as well.
Yeah, well, there's like advantages and disadvantages to doing it. Like it generates hype, and people think, oh, I want to try the latest one on PlayStation and stuff. But yeah, I think there's an outside chance.
Yeah, I would love, actually, just thinking along those lines, I would love if Gears of War Reloaded granted some kind of access to a Gears E-Day beta or something. Cool. That would be quite...
Especially on Xbox.
Yeah.
Because I think they're going to struggle to get people playing it on Xbox because it's been around. Oh yeah, they'll do the you have to buy it.
Yes.
You have to buy that version, the special edition, and then you get E-Day.
But then the Game Pass edition of just the standard game is there on day one. They'll do something, and there'll be the upgrade. The upgrade grants you access or something. But it would also be interesting if they then did that crossplay. If they made if E-Day, if they know it's coming, that they did some kind of crossplay beta there to test that system for the first time. But I think we could see something like that. I think that's reasonable. But there's a number of games there, so we think that we've got Perfect Dark, State of Decay, Contraband, Clockwork Revolution, Everwild, and
Fable.
Yeah, there is a number of things there that I'd love to see.
That's good enough, isn't it?
Yeah.
Compared to like PlayStation, obviously the State of Play, they probably announced something incredible already. But compared to what you'd assume isn't anything massively noteworthy new at the State of Play.
Can I tell you something? Actually,
I don't think they need to go crazy with it.
Yeah, although, and it wouldn't be going crazy with it. I agree, they don't need to do that. But I think if we do get something new, it's a teaser for that Toys for Bob game that they're working on. That's the one where they divested from Activision and Microsoft, but they've partnered, haven't they? Like they've become like a second party.
Yeah, don't we think that's going to be Spyro?
Yeah, that's the rumor, is that it was Spyro, not Crash. It was going to be Spyro instead, and that's cool. Getting to make a Spyro 4 maybe would be really cool.
I'm going to do the annual. Do we get a Banjo game?
Okay. It hurts every time.
What the chance? Because there's been a bit of smoke. I think it's probably the year before last year that Phil said his thing about Banjo fans. Maybe it was since then. We obviously had a few people. We had the Ori developer mentioning it. We had Toys for Bob have mentioned it. Under the guise of we're not making a Banjo game. But there's always a chance that when people say stuff like that, really they are making a Banjo game.
They're making a remake first. I do not think we get Banjo 4 until they follow the Crash trilogy model of having a remake of something first. It's been too long.
Yep.
They need to make it so that it's relatively low stakes from a development point of view, but they make some sort of gorgeous looking Banjo-Kazooie remake.
Didn't they? Well, weren't they quite far along with Banjo 3? I think there was a version of Banjo 3 that existed before they went to do Nuts and Bolts.
That's right.
It would be pretty good if they were able to, or someone was able to do something with that. Like you remake Banjo 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And like finish Banjo 3 in a way that it's very, very similar to the first two games. Probably not as good as the first two games because it's half finished and a different developer's done it, but they tie it up.
But it ties up.
Because the trilogy is nice.
It's a nice way to handle that, I suppose. Yeah, because I'm not bothered about Nuts and Bolts. You can leave that in the bin if you want. But I think if we see Banjo, he's been in Smash Brothers. You know what I mean? Like he was in.
What's your Banjo percentage? We should do this every year, but we haven't. What's the percentage chance of a Banjo game? A tease. It can just be anything. Any confirmation that Banjo is cooking, being worked on.
And is that do we? The percentage then would include a remake, a sequel,
I think so,
a cameo. Banjo's
not a cameo.
Okay, but it's I'm downloading a Banjo game of some kind
that doesn't already exist. So a remake is fine because it would be a new game, but it can't be like we're repackaging the HD. Rare replay Banjo.
Yeah,
it
which
needs to be.
They've done that on the Xbox Arcade.
But they might put it on PlayStation.
Yeah, maybe.
It's rare replay for Switch. Would go down so well.
Yeah, for
I could
sure.
see that happening.
Well, so would Master Chief Collection, right? Master Chief, you release those Halo games, put that on PlayStation, it will explode. It will do really well.
I just think that the whole thing is the cadence of the releases. There's no need to do that right now because they've already got all those games in the top. Yeah, exactly. They don't want to cannibalize.
Outer Worlds 2 is probably going to be October, probably. Call of Duty's probably going to be November. Same for Ninja Gaiden. There you go. There's your release schedule.
It'll be depending on when Starfield is. That's definitely getting announced. I think they'll just keep Halo.
That could be a September release, couldn't they? And then do Halo in 26. They could maybe get that in before the end of the financial year.
And it will be at a sensible time. So say we've had Forza now. So maybe the next Forza Horizon is next, September or something. And then they do Halo like a year before the next Halo game comes to Xbox. I think that's just the logical way to do it, and I would like to think they're planning in those sort of terms.
If that's how it shakes out, maybe like the Starfield DLC is like September, because September was when we've had Starfield stuff prior. There's a bit of a cadence of that. That 26 then shapes up pretty healthy. If E-Day, State of Decay 3, Fable, Perfect Dark, and Clockwork Revolution and Everwild are 2026. Fantastic.
Yeah, sounds good.
That's great. Yeah. Sounds brilliant. As much as it pains me, because it just breaks my heart, I think it's 30%. I think it's 30% chance.
30%, Jesus.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, it's good, but it's not what you want it to be.
I think we may have even done this last year, and I think we possibly said, or I would have said 5%. I might say 10%. I wouldn't go 30%. Man,
because I think the remake remake's cooking. I do. Optimistic, but I think it's there. Okay. Potentially. And on that inevitable moment of disappointment note, thank you so much everyone for tuning in to the latest episode of System Link. We'll be back this Saturday playing some more of the finals on Burly Bird Live, and we are also, we can now in a jolly fashion announce exclusive and at world premiere. We can reveal that Mike and I are going to be doing a Brucey bonus stream this Sunday, reacting to the Xbox game showcase. Now, to be clear on that, because of family logistics, we will not be reacting to this live at 6 p.m. when the showcase is actually on the air. Mike and I are going to be downloading an offline version, and we'll be doing our reaction, our genuine reaction. We're not going to watch it live first. We're going to be streaming our genuine reaction a few hours later at 9 o'clock this Sunday. We might not be looking at the chat, because of course chat might potentially reveal some things that you would have already seen. We will then refer to chat after we've watched the showcase, but you'll get to see our genuine reaction to it and our discussion around it.
So for context, every year we have this sort of thing. There's been a couple of years where we've been able to watch it live, but since we've had families, you can't really just miss 6 o'clock in the middle of the evening to watch the Xbox show. So we try to avoid leaks before the show, like a couple of days before the show, and we try to on the day especially, and after the thing, we're super careful to not see anything that's been announced. So we would genuinely be watching it as if we haven't seen anything. Mm-hmm. And if we do see spoilers and stuff, we normally we say to each other like, "Oh, I saw a clip, a thumbnail of Banjo in the thing or something." So yeah, it should be good fun. And so for anyone who wants to kind of delay watching it to kind of do it along with us. Like we said, we won't be reading the chat probably just because.
But come and hang out. Have that lively debate back and forth, especially if you've already seen it. But yeah, if you want to have that experience with us of just kind of checking out the show and sitting along with us and reacting with us, then that will be this Sunday at 9 o'clock, which we'll be doing after Burly Bird Live on the Saturday, again at 9 p.m. Folks, you can find us on all of the things at Burly Bird Media. Please also jump into our Discord, where again, most likely after the events of this week, we'll be sort of sharing and discussing our thoughts on all the various announcements. It's actually the first time I can think of. I think it's the first time we've had our Discord and a lot of our social platforms kind of in place, us streaming regularly too, with these big showcases going on. We didn't have this in place for Summer Game Fest last year. So you can follow us at Burly Bird Media on all of the things. Mike, where can people find you?
They can find me at the Xbox Guide xbox.com. There's a few issues going on with the website. The news aggregator's fine. It's quite a useful way with all the news going out to kind of stay on top of the Xbox news, but I've got other bits and pieces to fix. You can also find me at the same address on Blue Sky and Threads.
Lovely. Folks, thank you so much, everyone in chat, for tuning in live. We will see you next time.
See ya.